It all started in the mid-1500s with the formation of the Bay of Smokes, named after the Smoky Hills which Indians used to signal trade from Catalina. By 1897, the Port of Los Angeles was made official thanks to trade efforts of Phineas Banning and Stephen M. White.
Phineas Banning came here in 1851, saw nothing more than a muddy tide flat. And when the ships came, they had to anchor and bring their cargoes ashore in lighters of one kind or another, and the goods from the Southern California region at that time were mainly hides, and they had to be brought down the cliffs out to the ships. He was a very enterprising individual, and with his background in Philadelphia and shipping, he thought that this could be made into a real seaport, a deep water port that would service the town then, the Pueblo of Los Angeles. In 1869, it became apparent to Banning that a more efficient mode of transportation than the stagecoach and the wagon trains had to be developed in order to support the influx of cargo and freight and the outgo. The railroad had become a very important aspect of transportation throughout the United States, and he was the major catalyst for the building of a fixed rail from the port to the Pueblo of Los Angeles, which allowed for, of course, economic expansion in the area and really put Los Angeles on the map.
By 1911, the Port of Long Beach was established. Significant growth of the ports was due to the widening of the main channel of Los Angeles and the Panama Canal opening in 1914. This put the Los Angeles ports in a prime location for international trade. Soon after, the ports began expansions, landfills, and developments.
In the early days of the port, trucking was all done with manual labor. The cargo came out of the holes of the ship with longshoremen doing everything by hand, putting it on the dock on a pallet, and then teamsters taking it from there and hand loading it into trailers. California Cartage Company came to being in the 1943-44. Well, the company changed drastically in the 60s. Someone from the Port of Los Angeles in the Trade Development Department came to me and said, you know, there are going to be a consortium of Japanese lines. Each was going to build a steamship line that was going to be a container ship to hold about 800 20-foot equivalents. And they suggested you should go to Japan because somebody's going to need to be the LTL or small shipment devanner and revanner of containers. The word container freight station wasn't invented by then. With the port's help, I went to Japan in 1967, and in 1968 we got the contract to be the container freight station for those 4 lines.
I was on the Port Commission. I know I hold a record, almost 15 years, 14 plus years. The port needed to be expanded. The efficiency had to be upgraded. We had to foresee the expanded need of trade with countries in the Far East. So we had to depend on all kinds of experts to tell us what the traffic was going to be like, what the pollution was going to be like, what the cost is going to be like, what we had to do dealing with the federal government, dredging the channel, to meet the challenges of the growing trade in this part of the world. Because of my background, I went to law school in Japan, I went to law school here, completely bicultural, bilingual, etc., etc. I think people relied on that. We were going to Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, to try to get them to use LA Harbor in bringing in their goods.
Other growth contributors included the removal of trade restrictions from Spain in 1822 and China in 1981. Most of what we see today would not exist if it weren't for the construction of port landfills, extensions, terminals, piers, rails, bridges, and so on. The landscape and topography of the ports have evolved into the most complex and advanced container port in the United States.